Yes, it's the end of the year, and yes, we're all hooked at the moment on catching up on reading challenges and finishing off those most anticipated books of 2025 that we, or me, didn't actually get to. But 2026 is also fast approaching, and already I am really excited by a whole host of the books that are coming out in January. There's always a ton of really exciting books in that January batch. Publishers maybe know that we're excited to start fresh, especially with a lot of reading goals, with a lot of challenges. Now, when we're starting to think about those most anticipated of the entire year to come books. So that means this should be a really solid batch. I do have another video coming out that is going to be my most anticipated books of 2026. And as I just kind of explained, there's probably going to be quite a lot of overlap between that and this. But these are all books that are specifically listed as coming out in January. I think they all sound fantastic. Not all of them are going to make my most anticipated of the year, but at the moment, these are ones that I would love to get to. As always, these are books that I am interested in for my own reasons. I don't even necessarily need to think they're the best books coming out. They particularly appeal to me, my tastes, and my interests. This isn't meant to be an exhaustive list of what's coming out next month. There are plenty of other people who do that, but this is more so that you can find out some of the books I've been looking into that you might have missed, and you can let me know all of the books that you are interested in for January that aren't listed here, because obviously I've somehow managed to miss them. They run throughout the entire month, so I'll try and remember to keep the release date in the corner somewhere so that you can make a note of when they're available. The first is Through Gates of Garnet and Gold by Shauna Maguire. This is the 11th book in the Wayward Children series, and if I'm quite honest, I am running, I think, one or two behind on that series. However, apart from the one I've missed, this has almost become a January tradition for me. The fact that they're novellas really helps because it lets me get something under my belt very early on in January and feel like I'm getting ahead of myself on some of those reading goals. It also helps that I really do enjoy the Wayward Children series. The way this series works, and I am embarrassed to admit I didn't notice for quite a while until it was pointed out to me, is that the odd numbers of the books are set at Eleanor West's School for Wayward Children, and the even numbered books are set in one of the worlds that the child has visited. This is book 11, so we are back at the school, and in this one we're actually returning to the protagonist from the very first book, Nancy. After Nancy was cast out of the halls of the dead and forced to enroll at Eleanor West's School for Wayward Children, she never believed she'd find her door again, and when she did, she didn't look back. She disappeared from the school to resume her place in the halls, never intending to return. Years have passed. A darkness has descended on the halls, and the living statues who populate them are dying at the hands of the already dead. The lord and lady who rule the land are helpless to stop the slaughter, forcing Nancy to leave the halls again, this time on purpose, as she attempts to seek much-needed help from her former schoolmates. But who would volunteer to a quest in a world where the dead roam freely? And why are the dead so intent on adding to their number? Next is The Swan's Daughter by Roshani Chokshi. This is a kind of sweeping romantic fantasy, and I don't really know very much about it other than that the cover is absolutely stunning and that I really enjoyed Choksky's other books in the past. I think her writing is beautiful and will really suit this dreamy romantic style of book that this appears to be. To find love is a curse. Prince Aris knows that marriage means murder. Thanks to a poorly worded wish to a sea witch, all one needs to rule the Isle of Malaise is the heart and hand of the kingdom's heir. Historically, this has been construed quite literally. Thus, Aris expects that the day after his marriage and murder, he will wake up as a sentient tree alongside the rest of his predecessors. His only chance at a long life is finding true and lasting love. When Aris' parents announce a tournament of brides to compete for his hand and heart, a slew of eligible, lovely, and possibly murderous bachelorettes make their way to the Wraith Castle. Amidst glittering balls in Azoral caves, strolls through menageries of daytime trees and pearl crocodiles, tea time on glass boats and kisses that leave his head spinning, Aris cannot tell who is here out of love for him or lust for power, until he meets Demenzela. As a Veritas swan, Demenzela's song rings out the truth. Forced into hiding, Demenzela strikes a deal. Aris will provide her with safekeeping in exchange for her truth-telling song to sort through his potential brides. While Aris is used to dodging death threats and Demenzela is accustomed to fighting for her voice to be heard, to survive the tournament of brides requires a different kind of bravery. And perhaps the bravest thing one can do is not merely protect one's life, but also find the courage to chase a life worth living. Like In Love With You by Emma R. Albin is a romantic Regency sapphic enemies to lovers that is pitched as Mean Girls meets Northanger Abbey, and honestly that was all I needed to know to want to read this one. The cover is cute and the story sounds like it'll be a fairly easy read, a good romp, and full of a lot of really fun scenes. I think this could be the perfect thing for that mid-January slump I usually have. After all the excitement of the holidays, we then just go into the miserable weather months and a fairly solid stretch of a very busy spell for me personally at work. I know January blues are a major thing for a lot of people, and this seems like it could be just the sort of fun poppy read that helps break that up. When country-bred Catherine Pine relocates to Bath in 1817, she and her mother come face to face with her mother's arch nemesis, Lady Tysond, and her daughter, the wildly popular and gorgeous Lady Rosalie. Although once her very best friend, Mrs. Pine alleges Lady Tysond ultimately did her a great injustice. 25 years later, she sees the perfect opportunity for retribution. Catherine will win the favour of Lady Rosalie's suitor, Mr. Dean. Together, Catherine and her mother will ruin the Tysons' lives, secure Catherine a fruitful match, and launch a fully triumphant return to Bath. It's the perfect plan for revenge. Only Catherine soon discovers that there's more to Lady Rosalie's mean streak than meets the eye. Lady Rosalie is by far the wittiest, cleverest, and most intriguing young woman Catherine's ever met, and she's utterly smitten. Meanwhile, Rosalie feels trapped in her perfect life as Bath's favourite daughter and resident mean girl. There's no challenge anymore, no excitement, no surprise. But when she notices newcomer Catherine gunning for her spot as Queen Bee, Rosalie finally feels a spark again. She determines to meet Catherine's challenge with gusto because Catherine ignites something in her. Something Rosalie absolutely doesn't want to extinguish. As their mothers force them into increasingly absurd contests of wit and feminine charms to win Mr. Dean's affections, Rosalie and Catherine instead find themselves falling for each other, scheme by barb by catty jab. Can their sizzling rivalry become a match to last? Then we have The Book of Blood and Roses by Annie Summerlee. This is a book that is throwing an awful lot of tropes into the pot, so I'm very excited about it, but a little apprehensive. It's pitched as a sapphic paranormal fantasy where a vampire hunter goes undercover at a mysterious university and falls for their roommate who is the vampire they are hunting. The two things that make me slightly unsure are that me and Dark Academia have a rocky and not so brilliant history together. It is one of those tropes that I want to love. I love the aesthetic and I love the idea of it. And yet, whenever I read a book in the genre, it tends to fall flat for me. Also, this one is set in the Scottish Highlands, and as I've said before, books set in Scotland tend to be something that I do struggle with. I don't know whether Summerlee is a British author or an American author, but I've got my fingers crossed that it's going to read as a believable setting. In the mists of the Scottish Highlands is a university where vampire students study alongside humans. Rebecca Charity is a vampire hunter undercover at the university, searching for the mysterious Book of Blood and Roses, a lost compendium of ways to kill vampires. If she finds it, she'll be one step closer to avenging her parents, who were slain by those creatures of the night. But when Rebecca arrives, she finds something unexpected: a coffin. Her new roommate is Alice Astra, scion of one of the most powerful vampire families and the most beautiful woman Rebecca has ever met. The maddeningly gorgeous Alice is everything that Rebecca has always hated, but also everything she's ever wanted, and now Rebecca doesn't know if she wants to kiss her or kill her.
When Alice rescues her from a vampire attack one moonlit night, she accidentally makes Rebecca her familiar. Now they must work together to break the curse, but as they get closer to solving the mystery, Rebecca and Alice get closer too. But can a vampire hunter ever fall in love with a vampire?
Then we have The Bookbinder's Secret by A.D. Bell. I will be quite honest, I know nothing about this book other than, secrets are revealed, love is lost, that type of thing. What's really hooked me is the fact it's about a bookbinder. As of last year, I got quite into bookbinding as a hobby, so I'd really love to see a book that is about that.
A young bookbinder begins a hunt for the truth when a confession hidden beneath the binding of a burned book reveals a story of forbidden love, lost fortune, and murder. Lillian Lily Delaney, apprentice to a master bookbinder in Oxford in 1901, chafes at the confines of her life. She is trapped between the oppressiveness of her father's failing bookshop and still being an apprentice in a man's profession. But when she's given a burned book during a visit to a collector, she finds, hidden beneath the binding, a 50-year-old letter speaking of love, fortune, and murder. Lily is pulled into the mystery of the young lovers, a story of forbidden love, and discovers that there are more books and more hidden passages telling their story. Lillian becomes obsessed with the story, but she is not the only one looking for the remaining books, and what began as a diverting intrigue quickly becomes a dangerous pursuit. Lily's search leads her from the eccentric booksellers of London to the private libraries of unscrupulous collectors and the dusty archives of society papers, deep into the heart of the mystery. But with sinister forces closing in, willing to do anything for the books, Lillian's world begins to fall apart, and she must decide if uncovering the truth is worth the risk to her own life.
Then we have Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez. This is a standalone fantasy novel, which is always nice, and it's set in Renaissance Italy, which is something I don't think I've seen very often. Combining that with the fact that this book is about an artist, a sculptor, and it's going to have a competition or trials type of element to it, makes me think that this could be one that I would really, really enjoy. I've seen Ibanez books around a lot. I know that her What the Library Knows, or What the Library Hides, that book series, that duology, was really, really popular. I saw it around a lot, but personally I've never read from her, so I'm interested to see what this is like.
In 15th century Volterra, sculptress Ravenna Maffia enters a competition hosted by a secretive immortal family who offer an invaluable boon to the victor. Desperate to win so that she can save her brother, Ravenna reveals a rare magical talent, a dangerous act in a city where magic is forbidden. Her revelation makes her a target, and she's kidnapped by the Lunai family and taken to Florence, a city of breathtaking beauty and cutthroat ambition. There, Ravenna is forced into an impossible task, where failure means certain death at the hands of Saturnino del Lunai, the family's enigmatic and merciless heir. But under his cold reserve hides a vulnerability that draws her closer than she intended. Meanwhile, Ravenna's forbidden magic does not go unnoticed. The Pope, waging war against Florence, the Medici, and magic itself, has his own interest in her abilities, seeing her as a potential weapon in his ruthless campaign. As alliances shift and war brews on the horizon, Ravenna must navigate the treacherous line between survival and betrayal, between love and duty. With time running out and her every move watched, the choices she makes will determine the fate not just of her own life, but the fragile balance of magic and power that could unravel Florence itself.
The Poet Empress is the debut from Shen Tao, and this one is selling me with its comp titles. We have The Serpent and the Wings of Night, The Song of Achilles, and She Who Became the Sun. Now, I will admit that two of those are books I DNF'd, but the vibe it's creating is something very sprawling, very lush, very romantic. It says that it's going to touch on some darker themes, and it seems to have a really driven, ruthless, pragmatic protagonist, and that is something I am.
In the waning years of the Azalea dynasty, the emperor is dying, the land consumed by famine, and poetry magic lost to all except the powerful. Wei Yin is desperate. After the 5th death of a sibling, with her family and village on the brink of starvation, she will do anything to save those she loves. Even offer herself as a concubine to the cruel heir of the beautiful and brutal Azalea House. But in a twist of fate, the palace stands on the knife edge of civil war, with Wei trapped in its centre, at the side of a violent prince. To survive, Wei must harden her heart, rely on her wit, and become dangerous herself. even if it means becoming a poet in a world where women are forbidden to read and composing the most powerful spell of all, a ballad of death and love.
Benjamin Stevenson's Ernest Cunningham series is back with book number 4, and this time everyone in this bank is a thief. I've enjoyed all the other 3 that I've read. I know Stevenson's style of writing isn't for everyone. He quite often breaks the fourth wall, talks to you about the rules of crime writing, paints himself as, and sometimes it can be a little awkward when a writer writes about being a writer. I've enjoyed them, and I think this one is going to be another good one. Setting it in a bank heist seems like a show for a type of secrets being revealed, while also giving us a fresh new setting and adding a lot of
10
tension.
suspects, 10 heists, a mystery only Ernest Cunningham can solve. I've spent the last few years solving murders, but a bank heist is a new one, even for me. I've never been a hostage before. The doors are chained shut, no one in or out, which means that when someone in the bank is murdered, hostages become suspects. The bank robber, the manager, the security guard, the kid, the film producer, the priest, the receptionist, the patient, the carer. Me. Turns out, more than one person planned to rob the bank today. You can steal more from a bank than just money. Who is stealing what? And what are they willing to kill for it? And can I solve the crime before the police kick down the door and rescue us?
Won me over with that How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days style title, and honestly, I really didn't look much deeper at it. However, it's pitched as a cozy fantasy romance between a halfling and a goblin, which I think would be interesting because we don't actually have a human character in. It's very much doing the Shire from Lord of the Rings, mixing that in with Cerulean Sea, Legends and Lattes in terms of its comp titles. So I think this could be one that would really work for me as long as I am in the right mood for it. It's one I might buy and hold on to for when I want a cozy.
When a halfling, Pansy, and a goblin, Wren, each think they've inherited the same cottage, they make a bargain. They'll live in the house together, and whoever is driven out first forfeits the ownership. Amidst forced proximity and cultural misunderstandings, the two begin to fall in love. But when the cottage, and their communities, are threatened by a common enemy, the duo must learn to trust each other and convince goblins and halflings to band together to oust the tall intruder.
The last book on this list is Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. And as I said at the beginning of this video, these aren't necessarily books that I think are going to be the best books of the year. They're not books that are particularly fitting one kind of genre, even though I do lean towards fantasy. They're just books that interest me. And quite honestly, what interests me about this book is the hype around it. I didn't read Jeanette McCurdy's biography, but it was definitely the book of the moment. And I think she was really brave for writing what she wrote. This one seems like a similar vibe, although it's fiction. The topic has already caused a stir about whether or not you should be writing about what she's writing about. So I think it would be really interesting, and also I kind of want to get in there, read it early, so that then as this explodes all over social media, as I'm sure it's going to do, I will be able to, form my own opinions and justify my own opinions from having actually read the book.
Waldo is ravenous. Horny, blunt, naive, wise, impulsive, lonely, angry, forceful, hurting, perceptive, endlessly wanting. And the thing she wants most is Mr. Corgi, her creative writing teacher, with the wife and the kid and the mortgage and the bills, with the dead dreams and the atrophied looks and the growing paunch. She doesn't know why she wants him. Is it his passion, his life experience, the fact that he knows books and films and things that she doesn't? Or is it purer than that? Rooted in their unlikely connection, their kindred spirits, the similar filter with which they each take in the world around them. Or perhaps it's just enough that he sees her when no one else does. Startlingly perceptive, mordantly funny, and keenly poignant, Half His Age is a rich character study of a yearning 17-year-old who disregards all obstacles, or attempts to overcome them, in her effort to be seen, to be desired, to be loved.
So there you go. Those are the books I am most anticipating that are coming out in January of 2026. Let me know if you have heard of all of these, if you are interested in any of them. Let me know if there are any other January releases you are particularly interested in. And if you're not really a new release reader, let me know what your reading plans for January are. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know there is a lot of exciting end of year, start of year content to choose from at the moment. I'd really appreciate if you've got this far, if you could like the video, and I would love if you could subscribe to the channel to see future updates. If you want to leave a comment but don't have anything in particular to say, then just leave me some kind of emoji that sums up your hopes for 2026. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.